In the first place, how did Siaka's father get to a Ghanaian Mende woman to marry? For those of you who don't know, that part of Mende people, that part of Mende land, even their other fellow Mendes, they don't get married to them. Instead, they will choose to marry their own cousins, let alone coming to marry a Limba. And then here you come, not only taking that person from Pujon district, in the interior of Pujon district, and take that lady all the way to Moyamba and have a child to be named Siaka. What lesson I can learn from Siaka 7 is this. When you set a goal, it is not going to come easy to you. You have to walk towards that goal to achieve it. Here is a man who set a goal for himself. Starting life as a dog catcher in Sierra Leone. In those days, they were called constables. They were nothing but dog catchers. And he was an African in a European police force, European-controlled police force. And then he went from a dog catcher all the way to become a sergeant. Not only a sergeant, but a staff sergeant in the police force. That was no easy feat in those days. And from there, this is a man who grew up, he was hot-headed. He didn't want anybody, the white people telling him, oh, this is what you have to do for your country. He said, I know what was good for my country. You don't have to come all the way from overseas to tell me this is what is good for my country. I know my people. I know what I want. I know what they want. And then he left that and decided, my job, he would have left the country at that time. Then he decided, I'm going to be in the trade union to fight for the rights of the people. When Delco was opened, in those days, the Sierra Leonean workers there were just like, dogs were treated better than them until Siaka Stevens came there as a trade unionist. And he fought hard for these people to get their right wages. And it was during his time that even senior, the so-called senior Sierra Leone employees were getting quarters. Instead, they were all based in a hut, while the white men were up there. But he fought that, and then got himself into politics later, starting again at the bottom. Went to the Legislative Council, one of the 7 nominated for the first Legislative Council in Sierra Leone. And started there, went there. This is a man who contested elections, won elections, and then his victory was overruled. But still, he persevered because he had his eyes on the prize. Then, again, he broke away from the party that he helped to find, because he hated what is today the disease in Sierra Leone, tribalism. And then here's a man who came all the way fighting his way. And during the independence, people say, oh, why Siaka should be prime minister when he refused to sign the independence document? So no, Sierra Leone should not have independence. No, he never said Sierra Leone shouldn't have independence. He said independence should be full independence. You know, give me cow, you hold the rope. And that's exactly what the independence was that was signed in London. If the British say they are going to give us independence, why should they have a military base for us? So that whenever we decide not to give them our diamonds, they will always come and attack us. So, but history had been muzzled so long that I said, oh, Siaka 70 didn't sign the independence, so he has no right to be. He didn't want us to be independent, so why should he become prime minister of an independent nation? So this man went all over again and started life anew. I mean, for the first time in 1962, he contested the election and lost and decided to remain in opposition. Many members, many leaders of any party, they always want to be leaders of the opposition in parliament. But then, he never did. He stayed behind and then still worked his way to become the first opposition leader to become mayor of our city, Freetown, in 1964. And won elections in 1967 just because of some greed, and they decided, no, he didn't win the elections. And then, while he was swearing in his Minister of Information, the military entered the office and put him under house arrest. But before that, during the independence movement, just because he didn't sign the independent movement, the independent declaration, the Articles of Independence at Lancaster House in London, he was declared an enemy of the state. And during the independent celebration, the rumor mill started coming in that, oh, Siaka Stephen has secured bombs and he's going to bomb Freetown during the independence celebration. And Siaka Stephen and his colleagues, all his supporters, were arrested, and he was put under house arrest. The others were put in jail. But then he still had his eyes on the prize. He never wavered in his belief that one day he will rule the country. And maybe this is a lesson that we can teach our children. Nothing is impossible if you put your mind to it. Who would have thought that in our country, Sierra Leone, somebody coming from a minority tribe like Siaka Stevens did would have been able to become president of that republic? So to our children, grandchildren who are here, that is a lesson to you, that nothing is impossible for you. So this is a lesson, and as we go along, we'll be telling you, many people will be telling you stories about him and the meetings they had with him. And maybe I was one of the lucky ones in May of 1988 to have met him. I think that was the last. I think he died when? He died in May, early May 1988. I was able to meet him. And I went there with my uncle, who was his personal doctor. And it is usual grandfather joking and sometimes PG jokes. He asked my uncle. Somebody asked me the other day, is Siaka Stevens Mende? I said, what? What are you talking about? He asked my uncle. Then he asked me, then he turned into Chris, Mohammed, they give me short today? And this was on a Saturday morning, I'll never forget. So, but Mohammed Creole man said, what's not the looking company backside Saturday night, they can't choke me backside. That was the man we had as leader of the country. And I always say, on that Saturday morning, I spent about nearly 4 hours with him. And he told me a lot. He told a lot of stories, a lot of things, national and everything. And it's a story that I still have with me. And maybe someday I would tell that story to some people. And Or maybe I'll write a book about it.